Today I'm going to be using the S7PRO to roast a washed Ethiopian, Bangkok OTT. Before we start, full disclaimer, if you have this machine at home, please keep in mind that the voltage is different and there's some different environmental factors, and obviously the coffee may be different, so that not everything might be responding the exact same way. So today I'm going to start with 170 degrees internal, 165 drum, which is just a standard preheat setting that the machine comes with. And I'm going to have hot air at 7 to start, which is a bit higher than normal, and 6 halogen to start, which is a little bit less than normal, and 8 agitation. And when I say normal, I mean from what I did last time. And my reasoning is, if I start with a little bit higher hot air, I'm able to set myself up in the drying phase a little bit better in terms of applying more heat during that phase so that I can have a better peak ROR to write down. And this is to supplement my, to use a little less halogen. What I found was that with a lot of radiation heat, the coffee develops quite quickly during the roast, and I'm able to get some of the really nice complexities that I may not be able to without using the halogen. But overuse of the halogen can make the coffee very astringent and dry, and sometimes drying out and being muted very quickly. So usually I start with 8 halogen. Today I'm going to go down to 6, and then a color change I'm going to drastically reduce that down to 2. So the machine is ready to go. 7, 6, 8 for my initial heat settings, and hot air is at 225, exhaust is at 212. And there we go. All right, so beans are all in. And around turning point, I'm going to put that up to 9. Back at home with higher, less voltage, I go up to 9.5, but 9 should be good for here. And I will keep my halogen until the color change. And this should mark any second now. Here we go. There you go. All right, so we're now at 9, and we'll see the hot air graph rising immediately. And I feel safer using higher heat setting in the beginning for this coffee because it is a lot denser coffee. With larger beans or less dense beans, I have to be very careful with my heat application. But with the washed Ethiopians, usually I feel pretty safe applying quite a bit of heat in the beginning. And if you actually don't, you can risk underdevelopment. So on the S7PRO, I'm expecting color change to happen around 140 to 145 degrees internal. All right, I'm going to bump that hot air up a little bit more. Depending on the environment, the ambient temperature, each setting may give you a different heat output, as with any roaster. So maybe it's a little bit cooler here than other days. So hot air temp once again is trending up, reaching 370 degrees. We're still 3 minutes in, and we should be hitting our peak ROR around this point. I don't think it's going to go up more than 5. As you can see on the screen here, we're at 4.8. I think it did hit 5 a bit ago. A lot of people watch the internal temperature only, but as some of you may know, measuring anything, any value to its true value is impossible. So, especially with probes like this, as you can imagine, the coffee is always covering the probe, but also there's a lot of air that's covering the probe. So you're getting an average temperature being sent to the screen. And so that's why I rely on the hot air graph quite a bit to see how much energy that I'm actually inputting. All right, 138 degrees. Color change starting now. I'm gonna leave the hot air for now. I'm gonna drop halogen down to 4. Around color change, the density is quite different and the outer layers are quite softer than when we started. So I need less of radiation to penetrate into the center of the coffee. And we hit just 400 degrees of hot air. So I'm gonna make my first heat change here. Hitting 145 around 5 minutes is not bad, is within a normal range. So my first hot air drop is already resulting in immediate downward trend of my hot air graph. The drum temperature will stay stable throughout the roast. As you can see, change in halogen will make the most significant change in the drum temperature. Drum temperature is important because it allows you to see how thermally stable your roasting system is. All right, so our ROR is dropping nicely, 155, 630. Also, please note that the calibration points can be different by machine. So if I say 160, what happens at your machine for 160 may be quite different. All right. We're turning more of a brown color. I'm going to go down on halogen down to 3. And quickly at this rate, 3.5 ROR. In about a minute, I'm going to go up 7 degrees. So I'm going to reduce my hot air. I'm going to start getting into my first crack around 8:15. That's the goal. That amount of yellowing phase seems to give me just enough of clean cup, as well as very interesting floral and sweet notes. 165, 745, hoping to hit first crack in about 30 seconds or so. Now I'll go down to my halogen again. Number 2, I think I heard something. That was an odd early pop. There you go. 8:15, right in cue. There you go. All right, as the moisture is released, you're gonna see the natural decline of ROR here. Although with the internal temperature probe of Stronghold, it doesn't pick up that noise as much as some of the other roasters. There it goes, decreasing. I'm gonna put my halogen down to 0. As we hit first crack, the density decreases quite a bit, and a lot of development inside happens right now. And I don't want to accelerate that too much with use of halogen, and the color inside is going to change very quickly if I do that. The drum is already quite hot, so that conduction is going to help with that. So I'm almost about a minute into my development time. I'm going to drop my hot air quite a bit. At 9:55, I'll release. The color looks just about where I wanted it to be for this roast. Depending on how this tastes, I might try to elongate my roast a little more and end with a little bit lower temperature, which means that compared to what I just did, right around first crack, I might reduce my hot air a little bit more. You have to be very careful doing that with hot air roasters like Stronghold S7PRO because you might stall out quite quickly. And in a half minute more, it should be cool enough for us to drop into a bag.